Okay guys, here's our video for add and subtract integers, part 2. So we're continuing with our ability to add and subtract integers. One thing that hopefully you think about when we're adding and subtracting integers is, what are the numbers? All of our problems are actually addition problems. What you need to figure out is, are the numbers both positive or both negative, or do you have one of each, which makes some different signs? So that's what you need to look at when you're looking at the problem, to be able to decipher what the numbers are. So we're going to go over some examples today. These are going to look a little bit different than our last examples. First, I want to review the rules. The first two rules are review. You don't need to write them down, but the third rule is new, so make sure you write that down. Remember, if they have the same sign, add them together and put that sign in front. Okay, so if they're both negative, then your answer is negative. If they're both positive, your answer is positive. If you have one of each sign, okay, so the terms, you have one positive, one negative, you're going to subtract the two. So this is when you subtract. So there's our adding. Same sign as adding, different signs as subtracting. That's why we have adding and subtracting together. You subtract the two terms, and the one that's further away from 0, whatever sign that is what your answer is. Okay, and here's our new rule. If we have minus a negative number, okay, so we have a double negative there, and you can see in my example I have minus a negative number. Okay, so I have two negatives in a row. You remember, that's the opposite of negative 4. We went over this in our intro unit. Opposite of negative 4. So you must switch that to a positive number. So if I have minus negative 4, that is really a positive or a plus 4. You must do that first in order to answer the problem. Okay, so make sure you write down that rule. If you want to write down the other two rules, that'd be good. It's great review to remember that. So if you need to pause, go ahead. Otherwise, I'm moving on. In our first example, we're going to use a number line to illustrate. Now notice here I have our minus signs in front of them. Okay, so that's a minus sign, which is like a negative sign. So we're going to figure out what's going on here. And I really want you to see what I'm doing with the circling to help identify the numbers. Okay, so the first part here is we have a negative 3, okay, and then we have a minus 2. Now if I separate those like I do in the boxes, what do I have? Well, I have a negative 3 and a negative 2. Those are my two numbers. They're both negative. So see what happens on a number line. Alright, here's 0. I go to negative 3. There's my first mark to negative 3. And then I subtract 2, or a minus 2 more, or a negative 2 more. 1, 2, that's minus 2. Minus goes to the left. So you're going to go to the left. So this would be left 3, and then this means left 2. They're going in the same direction. They're both going left, and that's where I get my answer of negative 5. And that would be my final answer. Oops. Cool. Okay, did something crazy there. And I get negative 5. Alright. Okay, next, and I switched the color of my pen somehow. Sorry about that. Okay, next I'm going to do this next one as a number line, okay? So I make my number line and go to negative 1. Oh wait, this is a double negative here, guys. So the first thing I want to do is rewrite that as a positive. So it's negative 1 plus 4. Okay, so I had that double negative, and that double negative became a plus 4, and that's what I have here. So now let's do this. Alright, here's 0, so I go to negative 1 first. Okay, and then I go 4 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, and when I do that, I hit 1, 2, 3 is my final answer, so that equals 3. So I have my double negative there that turns into a plus 4. That makes this a negative 1 and a positive 4. Different signs, so I subtracted them. That's really what I want you to get in the habit of as you're solving these. Okay, let's go down to example 2. Alright, in example 2, what do we have here? I got a negative 12, and I got a negative 14. Yes, it's read negative 12 minus 14. That is how you read it. But what do I have here? I have a negative 12, and notice that this minus goes with the 14, because I'm taking 14 away. So that minus goes with the 14. So what do I really have? I have a negative 12 and a negative 14. That's a negative and a negative. That means they're both the same sign, so I add them together. 12 plus 14 is 26, and since they're both negative, my answer is negative 26 here. Okay, So a negative 12 and a negative 14. Okay, this first number, that is a positive 11. The second number, 11 minus 23, that is a negative number, negative 23. I have one positive and one negative number, different signs, so I subtract them. 23 minus 11 is 12, okay, and then I look, I have the negative 23. 23 is further away from 0, that's negative, so that my answer is negative 12, okay? So that's how you do those. And this is an easy way of doing them, guys, is just what I'm doing right here. Okay? Think of every problem as addition. All right? These are all problems as addition. Okay? We're going to move to our next example. If you need to pause, go ahead. All right, in our last example, what do you do if you have a double negative? Well, if I have a double negative, guys, I want to do a plus positive. Okay, so I'm going to make this double negative here plus. That's the first time. These are the only problems I have to rewrite. So that's 14 plus 14. Okay, now, I know it sounds silly, but I got a positive number there, and we got a positive number there, so they're both positive. 14 plus 14 is 28, and they are positive, so my answer is 28. Okay, and in this example, I got my minus negative here. Anytime you have a double negative, that means two negatives in a row with no number in between. Okay, so that's going to be negative 23. That becomes a plus sign, 17. Notice the negatives together equal my plus sign. Okay? It has to be a double negative in order for that to work. Now I look at my numbers. I have a negative 23, that's negative. I have a positive 17, that's positive. A negative and a positive are different signs. I subtract them. 23 minus 17 is 6. Okay? The negative is the bigger number, so that's negative 6. So my final answer there is negative 6, and that's how we do these, guys. Okay, so you really need to, when looking at this problem or any of the others, think about what are the numbers when I'm working with them. So whether they're the double negative, or if I go back to previous example here, okay, looking at it, that minus 14 is a negative 14. That's what that number stands for. Okay, that is all I have for today. If you need to rewind or watch anything again, go ahead. Otherwise, have a great night.